Meredith, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. It's good to see you, Kirk.
Oh, yeah, it is great to see you. All right, hang on. So I got a lot of flack this morning when I walked into the office with a tie, and I said, you know what? I'm interviewing the New York Times, and I thought it appropriate that a tie was the right way to go.
I think I feel honored by that.
All right, so here's the deal. Let's jump in, right? I looked up the New York Times on Wikipedia. We know how amazingly credible that source is, and it said, the New York Times is an American daily newspaper founded and continuously published in New York City since September 18th, 1851. It goes on to talk about the numerous acclaimed Pulitzer Prizes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It also talks about the fact that she's often referred to, the publication, as the Gray Lady. Some people say gray meaning the color of the actual print. Some say gray meaning old. If you look at the New York Times today, is that still accurate? Are these descriptions of her as accounted by Wikipedia, some articles calling her the old gray lady, is that a fair representation?
So I should start by saying I don't know if the word old is anywhere, but certainly we do get called the Gray Lady. Let me ask the folks we have here, who, by show of hands, who read the New York Times this morning in print on their way here, on their way to work? Anybody? Okay, handful of hands. And who read it on a mobile device or on a computer? A lot of hands. So I think that's the first part of my answer, and I think the folks here are saying the New York Times is a lot more than an American daily newspaper. Let me see if I can break that down in terms of the three keywords, American daily and newspaper, and I'll start with the big one, which is newspaper. So I've been on the job for 6 weeks, and I have been asked constantly if the New York Times is a newspaper first. And I always say I think the better definition of the New York Times is that slogan that's at the top of the newspaper every day and has been, I think, for more than 100 years, which is all the news that's fit to, in the paper it says print, but I think today it's better defined as all the news that's fit to print, click, tap, swipe, share in some way. Or in other words, all the news that is judged as worthwhile to put in front of our consumers, made accessible to them on any device that they want to get it on. So that's the newspaper part of it. On American, obviously, we have a huge global digital audience, huge American audience too, and we're producing news from all over the world. But I think we'll probably make the boldest statement we've made in a long time about how global the Times is next month when the International Herald Tribune, which has long been owned by the Times, will be rebranded the International New York Times. So that's basically adding...
Congratulations, that's great.
Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of the Times, it's adding the Times brand to a Paris-based or Europe-based news operation. What's the third word? American daily newspaper. So on daily, I would say we are at least as much a real-time news organization as we are the producers of a daily paper. And that's probably most evident when big news events are happening. So, for example, the tragic news event that happened this weekend, there was real-time coverage, precisely what was going on in Nairobi. If you look at an election cycle or when something like the Boston Marathon happens and you look at our mobile traffic, the numbers are staggering. In the month of April, which was the month surrounding the Boston Marathon bombing, the New York Times had something like 16 or 17% share of all mobile usage in ComScore. So I would say, that's as much about being real time as it is about being daily. And then last thing on Gray Lady, most people don't know what that refers to. I just learned it when I came to the Times. It's a historic reference to the high ratio of text to graphics in the paper. I think it's really a reference or a nickname for the Times journalism being substantive journalism. And my philosophical answer would be we are as substantive today as we have been at any point in our 162 years. And arguably, that substance and that substantive nature has more meaning in a mobile world with a plethora of media choices that may not be as much about the same kind of journalism as the Times is about. That's my philosophical answer.
No, that's a great opening.
I
love the answer. So I had this question sort of hung out, was going to pop it to you at the back in the rapid fire round, but you touched on this. So the New York Times, in many regards, has gotten real time with its communication. It is the source of relevance, you're saying. Social news, impact of social news, is that a threat, or is this simply a new format for the New York Times to evolve into?
It's definitely not a threat. It is a format. It's an enabler. And it is an advancer of everything we do. So the New York Times is, one of the many, many forces that power content on the social web. I'm sure there are lots of followers of the New York Times and its many journalists on Twitter and Facebook in this audience. I think our number is something in the neighborhood of 20 million combined followership from Twitter and from Facebook for the Times itself, and then for individual journalists of the Times. And it's, I think, just under 600 of the members of our newsroom are actually very active on Twitter. So it's a huge number, and we see the social nature of news as something that's very good for the Times. When we launch the next iteration of our site and our mobile site, which we call NYT5, because it's the 5th ever iteration of the Times digitally and on mobile. Early next year, social sharing, social commenting, social engagement will become even easier at the Times.
Oh, that's exciting.
So not a threat, a good thing.
Yeah, I'm asking, so the transformation you're speaking to, though, sounds, was it revolutionary? Is it evolutionary? I mean, what is really the business case supporting the Times moving into these new directions as a company?
It's a good question. I think everything that we do at the Times and have done qualifies as more evolutionary than revolutionary, and I think that's a good thing for us. The business case for the Times and mobile and the Times digitally is a clear one. On the consumer side, I love this fact. There are more people paying, more individual consumers paying for the New York Times today than at any other point in our history. I think that's a very striking thing, again, given the sort of plethora of choices out there for news, and particularly choices for free news. And the Times brings in about half of all of its revenue from consumers who are paying us for their news. So I think we've done a good job of helping. We've been one of the organizations that's helped to lead the industry to believe that consumers will pay a premium for high quality content, and I think that will continue. On the advertising side, the Times was very early to digital. We've been innovative in digital for 16 years, and our digital business is a huge and important, our digital advertising business is a huge and important part of everything we do. Mobile still remains a small percentage of that. This year, a small but growing percentage of it, and something that we are utterly focused on advancing moving forward.
Okay, so let's talk about that as a focal area. We see the stats. The last panel showed it. The graphic behind the panelists for most of their discussion was time spent versus dollars of monetization, right? So
right.
The money is coming. It seems to be coming way slower than the consumers have moved. So we spent the last couple of questions really talking about consumer adoption and acceptance of the credibility of the Times on new screens. What's causing the dollars to lag? Is there a rationale behind that? Is it poor creative, rich media issues?
So I actually think that's a question for the industry, not just for the Times, but it's a question that the Times is utterly focused on addressing. I think that the reasons for the gap, the famous Meeker chart gap, are plentiful. The few that are biggest, in my opinion, are one, just the imprecise nature of tracking and measurement in mobile that still exists for advertisers, and a lot of advancement has happened just in the last even couple of months in that space, but it's still relatively imprecise compared to where we are on the desktop or in traditional digital. I think there is still a relatively small number of marketers whose own experiences are optimized for the mobile web, which makes it hard for them to buy the mobile component of something they're buying on an otherwise integrated basis. And I think that there is a behavioral difference in how people use mobile. So at the Times, we talk about mobile not as a new channel, but as a whole new set of behaviors, and those behaviors are arguably additive to other channels. We all know that. We talk about second, third screen experiences, and they are also more personal and more organic than the behavior that one demonstrates in the other more traditional channels. And I think that a big part of what is stopping advertisers from spending money in mobile is we still tend to think of it, or the industry, I don't mean the Times, the industry, we all still tend to treat it just like a smaller version of desktop, and we're not yet capitalizing on that more personalized, more organic nature.
So desktop strategy, mobile strategy, how similar, how different are they? It sounds like, again, there is a lot of time being invested in this. I'd love to hear your perspective from the New York Times.
Yeah.
What are the differences, and then how are you investing in these futures?
Yeah, there's a few questions in there. So are the strategies different at the Times? I would say yes and no. On the consumer side, we are definitely we have a huge percentage of our audience accessing us now from a mobile device. It's almost half of the non-print audience. So almost 50% of our audience is coming to us from a mobile device. 700,000 paying digital subscribers, many of whom do use us on a mobile device, and about a third of our overall traffic and ComScore is mobile based. So on the consumer side, we're looking to advance that by continuing to provide our site in better ways for mobile, so responsive design that will come with the next iteration of the Times with NYT5. We're also launching new products. So we'll launch new, more entry-level, lower-priced consumer products around things that we know consumers want to do on their mobile device. So breaking news, opinion, food, there are certain areas that we know will be particularly advanceable in mobile, and we're building there. On the advertising side, I would say the answer is yes and no. The no part of it is we are selling, everything we sell at the Times is sold on an integrated basis. So our sales team works with clients for all of the products that we sell, and we sell mobile best as part of some other integrated portion of the buy. But I do think the manner in which we build advertising solutions for mobile is different for the reason that I said before. Mobile is about new behavior, and it's about an experience that is personal, more personal and more organic than any other medium. So I'd say there are two great examples of things that we've done where we've helped a marketer kind of capitalize on that. We launched this spring. We launched a program with Citibank when they launched Citi Bikes, where we actually built the Citi Bike map and real-time availability for Citi Bike stations into an app that we have called the Scoop. So we built Citi Bike into the navigation of that app, which basically allowed users to say, what's going on in New York? What do I want to do? The app is based on critics' reviews of things to do in New York, and we tied that to you can take a Citi Bike to get there. So that's one way we did that. I think we also took advantage of the more personal nature of mobile for Showtime. Showtime did a tablet takeover with us in June when they launched the show Ray Donovan. And in the actual advertising in the tablet takeover, you could watch preview, obviously, but you could also download a free episode of the show. You could authenticate your Showtime status. You could buy the Ray Donovan tune on iTunes, or you could actually give yourself a calendar reminder of when to watch the premiere. So those are examples of the kinds of things we're doing in advertising to advance the ball.
So that's great. So we probably have in the audience, I'm guessing, a lot of the community that buys, right? So
Yeah.
agencies, some advertisers are here. To the second half, it was a compound question by all measures. So your investment areas, are you investing in providing creative services and solutions? Because those two programs you just mentioned clearly require more than just, hey, we've got our campaign ready, can we run it? And how are you making those things successful?
That's a great question. The short answer is yes. We are absolutely investing in making it easier for marketers to do mobile advertising or take advantage of a mobile solution from the Times. And we're doing that in a few ways. We have the resources in-house to actually help build the ads. We have also standardized our ad formats and our technology across mobile so that when an advertiser now buys an integrated program from us, we can easily convert those assets across all of our platforms. And that's made a meaningful difference in our ability to attract more advertising dollars to mobile. I'll comment though, you're asking me about investment. We're investing in a lot of areas in digital at the Times. More custom, branded content, video, automated buying and data, all of which I think will get even more important as time goes on. So a lot of resources going to those 5 areas, but the single area where we're probably spending the most time and energy and probably money is in talent in all of those areas. So we're investing in our own creative talent, we're investing in more technological talent and sales talent who can actually develop programs across all those areas.
So that's exciting. So we're going to end up sounding self-serving because you said a couple of things in there that were really interesting, right? So automated buying, sales talent, right? You're reinforcing, or I should say, it sounds like you're removing the friction of buying.
Yep.
What's the role of data in this? What's the role of programmatic in those go-to-market strategies for the New York Times?
Yeah. A great question, and I generally philosophically believe that in digital and in mobile and in whatever comes next, that the market is moving, and a lot of people have said this, talked about this, to a world where most solutions that are bought will be on one end of the spectrum or the other. They will be premium or they will be programmatic, and we're putting a lot of investment on both sides of that equation. So better know-how and better ad technology on the programmatic side, and new talent. And we've already brought in some of that talent and we'll bring in more. And the same on the premium side. We're also working really hard at the Times, and this is related to both digital and mobile, in doing the best possible work in what I call the transactional middle. So, the RFP marketplace, and that is about better data, better campaign analytics, better understanding of engagement, and we're spending a fair number of resources to improve what we do in that space.
Okay, so then that's exciting times for the New York Times, for sure. So we talked about, again, this effort at your integrated, single ideas led, primarily driven by your sales force, this fat middle of what you call transactional middle, and then again using automation to remove friction on the other end. Is that the same display and mobile, and will they ever converge and be one effort that a campaign, for instance, may want to run across those digital platforms for you together? Are you seeing any of that trending? And this is now shifting a little bit from the Times to sort of see what are you seeing into the future?
Yeah, I think for premium publishers like the Times, ultimately what marketers buy from us are ideas. And I think those ideas get executed on a consumer-first basis. So they are presented, and they should be presented where the consumer is. So I believe that most of the work that we will do in the idea space will be across platforms, and the work for us, particularly on that premium end of things, will be to make sure we provide the best solution for an idea to live in mobile, on the desktop, and in whatever else will come, and in print, and in live events, and in all the other spaces that we're playing in.
So you've spent, your career working with premium branded publishers, right?
Yes.
Those that carry, legacy of what they are today. Yet we all live in an industry where the top 5, I don't know if we want to call them publishers, but top 5 media companies
Yep.
for sure, command probably 70 to 80%
Yep.
of all the ad dollars moving into digital, not just mobile, but mobile and display. And then you see Twitter acquire MoPub,
Yeah.
right? What does it all mean for the premium publisher for their future?
That's a big question.
It's a big one.
Let me see if I can break that up into the 2 parts. So the top 5
5.
getting most of the money, and Twitter
And we
acquiring.
know who the top 5 are.
Right.
Do I need to name them?
Facebook, Twitter, Google.
There you go. Got it.
Millennial.
All right.
So on the top 5 getting most of the money, I would say premium publishers will get more share of those dollars when we can provide solutions that go well beyond a standard format. I think we are moving to a world where that which is human bought and sold will be idea driven and banner beyond. And I think we'll win more share of those dollars when we have more solutions like that.
Banner Beyond, that's tweetable. Or posted on the New York Times.
We don't mind you. New York Times likes Twitter. On Twitter acquiring MoPub, I actually think that was a huge thing for Twitter and a huge thing for the industry. And it means a lot of things. To me, it reinforces Twitter's position and MoPub's position, but particularly Twitter's position as one of, if not the most important advertising organizations out there right now, most appealing to advertisers, because it puts Twitter at the vanguard of all 3 of the big forces that I think are driving mobile and digital advertising today, and those are automated buying, mobile consumer use, mobile as a force, and native, or the idea that marketers need an authentic place in the stream, in the conversation. And just the very idea that Twitter knows who we all are on every device that we use, and the idea that we can overlay that and an interest graph on top of, what I think is the largest mobile exchange is incredible. And it certainly makes it all very appealing to the Times as a potential partner.
That's great. So I want to watch our time. So we've got probably 5 to 7 minutes. Natalie hasn't showed up to alert me yet, but I'm going to
right here.
look at that.
Your wish is my
Natalie.
command.
So I was going to open up to questions from the audience.
Come on, somebody's got to have a question. Don't be shy. You know what the alternative is. I start singing. Sir.
Jay Mandel from MasterCard. I was just wondering, I was trying to share an article on LinkedIn from the New York Times, and it's not there, the ability to share natively. Do you have an opinion on what LinkedIn is doing from a content creation perspective?
I think LinkedIn wants to be and is, in many regards, a publisher of content. I don't know if that's the question that you're asking. So yes, I think that LinkedIn is a publisher, and it's also a source of sharing, though, from your example, not easy, across the social web. And I don't have an opinion on whether that's a good or a bad thing, but I think they are absolutely getting into the space and are well into the space of being a content publisher. I will say, I think that what the Times does as a content publisher is so differentiated. It's just utterly different from how LinkedIn will play in that space. I get asked all the time, why. In my 6 weeks, I think I've said that figure every day, that we have more people paying for the Times today than we have at any other point in our history. And I get asked why. And one of the big factoids that I learned when I got there that I think is amazing is we had 1,100 people in our newsroom in 2008 before the economy collapsed. And today, we have 1,100 people in our newsroom. So,
that's great.
many of them doing different things than they were doing 5 years ago, but the commitment to the highest quality journalism is there. So I think LinkedIn will publish in a way that is relevant to the LinkedIn audience. The Times will publish in a way that's relevant to the Times audience.
Any other questions? Don't worry, I can go to the other side too. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do, if I can. I'm going to strut on over to the other side so you can come up with a question. Come on, we've got Meredith here from the New York Times, unless you don't read the Times. So that would not be the right answer. Correct, Meredith? Okay,
Yes.
We've got someone
I'm coming.
right
I'm
down
coming your
front.
way, sir. I'm in heels.
Natalie, be careful,
I'm a
please.
running.
We don't
I'm
want
a
the Times-
running. I'm
we
a
don't want
jack of
the
all, a
Times to
man of
cover
all
that.
trades.
Hi, Min Chung from Capital One. What were some of the key strategic bets that differentiated New York Times to help it kind of maintain its prominent position in the paper industry through the transition from the kind of the paper to the internet and then mobile that, let's say, differentiate itself from, let's say, the Post?
Very good question, and I'll caveat it with I'm 6 weeks on the job, so I won't have all the answers. But I would say differentiating from everyone based on the point that I just made. So the quality of the journalism is paramount. It is first. It is foremost in everything we do. And that just the quality has many, many measures: audience size, scale of operation, et cetera. But the one that I just shared, 1,100 people in the newsroom in 2008, 1,100 people in the newsroom today, is a big part of how we differentiated. I think also the very significant bet on consumers, even digital consumers and mobile consumers, will pay for the highest quality content in a world where so much of news is free, was a very good bet that we made relatively early versus the rest of the news industry, and it's making a huge difference in the economics of the Times.
All right.
We have time for one more quick question. Okay, sir, if you could just kind of, let's meet halfway. Wasn't that a song? Let's meet halfway.
Hi, good morning, Meredith. I'm Ben Millard from JumpTap. Question for you. You touched on earlier the fact that buying in mobile for New York Times right now is kind of a component of more holistic cross-channel ad buys. Two-part question. One, do you find that driven more by the agencies and the brands that are doing the buying, or is it by the in-house structure of the Times? And second part of the question, when do you see that shifting towards independent, like siloing mobile versus traditional versus online?
I'll just answer the last part of the question, which is I really do think that mobile isn't another silo. I think it's a whole new set of behaviors that cross into the other channels or silos. So we will continue to sell it on an integrated basis. We have been doing that for a long time, and the plan for now, until the market suggests to us otherwise, is to continue to do that. We're developing and hiring for and adding to the expertise in how we do mobile advertising for all the reasons that I said, but I do believe that for the Times and for most premium publishers, a lot of the solution set will be bought on an integrated basis, or if it's bought on an individual basis, because that's the right solution for the marketer, that may be the case, it will be sold by an integrated seller.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
All right, Meredith, as we're winding down, what device do you carry? Android, Apple device, they're all dropping new. What will you share your personal mobile device with the crowd?
Sure. I use a lot of devices because I have a husband.
You're beginning to sound like it's an election year. Which
A
device?
husband
You
and a
gotta pick.
2-year-old. So as a family, we have a lot of devices. I'll cover myself by saying that. But
Again,
I
it's
have,
sounding like an election
I
year.
have and use constantly. I have an iPhone 5. If I'd had my stuff together, I would have had a 5S.
Go
already.
for it. All
I
right.
don't yet. I have an iPhone. I have an iPad that I love, and I have the little tiny MacBook Air.
Wow, it sounds like you're a Mac user all the way. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being a great audience.